A terrible, bad performance from the Philadelphia 76ers right after the All-Star break. Let's break it down right here on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On 76ers. We're your host, Keith Pompey, 76ers beat writer. I'm Kayla Santiago, sideline reporter for the Delaware Bluecoats, the NBA G League affiliate of the Philadelphia 76ers. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, or listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. In addition, you can also check us out at our free daily newsletter that's on lockedondaily.com. We're going to get right into this because catastrophe after the All-Star break, 124-104. The three-point shooting was just horrific from the Philadelphia 76ers. 8 made threes, 39 attempts. I mean, Keith, they said before they want to get everything back to it. They want to get back out there. And then they come out like this against the Boston Celtics, looking like a bad team that they did last night.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. It's kind of sort of like reality struck. I mean, we look at this team and they were playing their best basketball before Paul George and Joel Embiid came back, right?
Sure.
They won like a couple in a row, and then all of a sudden they lost two close ones. And we all thought like, okay, well, they got Joel, they got PG coming back. Well, next thing you know, they lost 6 in a row, right? I mean, this was their 6th game that they lost in a row, and they ended up losing 8 out of 9. The one game that they won was the game that Joel Embiid came back against, and no offense, but it was against a Bobo squad, right? So here's the deal. Like, reality struck. We saw how they were. And when you look at this team's performance, right? Andre Drummond was back. Embiid was back. PG was back. Kyle Lowry didn't play. Eric Gordon didn't play. But at the same time, you look at it and you see how this team has basically regressed right now, right? They played the Boston Celtics very good the first time they played them. They won that game. The second time, they were up 16 against the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics had to do a comeback of ages to come back and beat them. And then last night, the game was basically over in the second quarter, right? And Joel, he just couldn't keep up. He had 15 points, but he shot 3 for 9. Paul George, love him. He started off strong. He scored 12 points in the first half, but he ended up with 17. Tyrese Maxey, he was okay, but he was a minus 25. He had 16 points on 6 for 10 shooting. And you talk about how horrendous they were from shooting three. They gave up 24 threes, 24-54. So it was one of these games where it just like, yes, it's great to say what you're going to do and you're motivated, but it's like everyone is tough until they get into the ring with Mike Tyson. Now, this isn't boxing, but everyone can say what they want to say about how great they are until the game comes and they look like a team that regressed.
It's all talk right now, no action. And it's bad when you have a game where Roddy, the new two-way deal guy, +6, he was in the positive mark, in addition to Adem Bona and Jeff Doughton all being plus positive. Everybody else was a minus. Now, granted, clearly everybody else got a lot more playing time, and that doesn't really show the full equation there. But at the same time, I mean, you see minus down the board. And the three-point shooting was horrific. The way they were out there was horrific. And you just look at this team and you say, okay, well, you talk about, maybe not trying to get into that play-in tournament and all this thing. And we'll get to that later on in the broadcast. We'll, keep it on a game-centric here. But the Boston Celtics, I mean, they might have just sent the 76ers packing. They sent them, back home and everything in between, because I understand Boston is a really good team, but the 76ers, they looked like they were bottom of the pack there. They did not do what they needed to do last night. And the thing is, they've beaten this team before. Now, granted, I didn't think they were going to come out after the All-Star break and beat the Boston Celtics, but this team hasn't gotten any better. They want people to believe. They're saying all these things. They're having all these quotes that a lot of people are starting to look at. And now you see, okay, well, this is the reality of the situation. 8 3-pointers made on 39 attempts. You can have a bad 3-point shooting night, Keith, but that is really, really, really bad for Philadelphia, a team that maybe just a week and a half ago said, no, they're going to get back into this thing.
Yeah, it's true. But here's the thing. What else do you expect them to say, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think that you have to come out and you have to say, look, we're a confident bunch. We're going to win these games. We're going to do that. Like, you have to come out and say that, because you know what? That's what you're here to compete for. But deep down inside, they're just not that good. And the one thing I will say, like, let's keep it 100. Like, the Boston Celtics shot 48% for the game, but they were shooting over 50% through 3 quarters. So
Right.
when David Roddy and all those guys came in, at that point, Boston was in straight mop-up duty, and these dudes were like, yo, I gotta get mine. Like, they were going, like, they looked like the 1980 Lakers at that stretch doing fast break points and everything. I mean, seriously, it looked like show.
Yeah.
But while the Celtics was just trying to, like, okay, let's just try to get out of here, not get anybody injured, this and that. But yeah, the Sixers are going to say what they want to. They're going to say all that because you have to speak with confidence. Even if you don't believe it, you want to come out and say that, because if not, then what we're going to say, they quit already on the team. They quit on the team already, you know?
And when I look at it too, there's so many conversations of guys shutting it down and everything in between. And, the counter argument that people could make possibly, well, the games they have coming up are against the Nets and the Bulls. Then you take on a tough team in the Knicks, but the schedule isn't necessarily super stacked. They do have a lot of tough games, Timberwolves, Celtics as well. But, by the way, the Sixers team did fall to the Nets too before the All-Star break. And they also haven't had a lot of success against teams that are quote unquote worse than them at this point of the season. So right now, this just looks like a bad team that has regressed, that hasn't done really well. And I think with the Boston Celtics, you always say, when you're a good team, you maybe have the bad teams compete a little bit. When you're a great team, you really beat up bad on the bad teams. And that's exactly what the Celtics were able to do last night. I mean, this is a team that is constantly in the top of a conversation for another Eastern Conference final, going back to the finals, everything in between. And I know the Celtics, listen, I know Peyton Pritchard was going all for them as well, made 8 3-pointers, scored 28 points as well for this team. It wasn't just Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They added into, and everybody was adding into the fun. But at the same time, Keith, the 76ers had zero answers last night. And it's a shame when you look at it too, because some guys were able to rest up a little bit during that All-Star break as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that the Sixers, no offense, it's just, I think the Boston Celtics, I don't think it's just a matter of them beating up. I think the Boston Celtics are a pretty good team, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do. And the one thing you said is, and we talked about it, yes, the 76ers regress, right? You look at it, no offense, but this guy Jared Butler, the last 3 games or the last 2 games, he was shooting what, 2 for 12,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? And he has to step his game up a little bit. Like tonight, David Roddy came in and he gave him something a little, but he shot 2 for 7. You know what I mean? So we look at it, and then you see Andre Drummond. It just seems like this was his first game back, but they were attacking him, going rim for rim, right? It was like he couldn't get any stops. Celtics look like a good team beating up on a bad squad, but it's also like the 76ers just didn't play great. Now, here's the problem. The 76ers struggle in perimeter defense, and they struggle like in transition D. So they basically got exposed on national TV, right? Everyone saw their weaknesses. And unfortunately for them, these are the same things that happened when they were playing the Brooklyn Nets, when they were playing the Toronto Raptors. You know what I mean? Like, just insert a team recently in the same things that the Celtics were doing. Now, the crazy part about it, if we want to be real, the score of the game could have been much worse,
Oh
right?
yeah.
You
Oh yeah.
look at it like, Jason Tatum had 15 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. He didn't play in the fourth. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, you look at it, they were getting destroyed by basically the bench players. They were getting destroyed by their bench players. And so I just feel like the Sixers they're a team that they could make the playoffs because of everybody else is struggling, but is a team that they're just not as competitive as they were a month ago.
And I just don't think this team is, and I know people are going to say, well, you never know what can happen in the playoffs. And what if they get in? I just don't think this team's necessarily deserving either to get in the playoffs. I mean, they've lost to some bad teams. They've had some nights where you're saying, all right, Paul George with 2 points. Are you kidding me? At this point right now, even if they get in the play-in, they still have to win 2 games to get into that first round. So they're really on the outside looking in right now. The Bulls still ahead of them, and they have a really easy chance of getting that 10th seed if you're the 76ers, with only being 2 games back at this point. But I don't think they deserve to even get in there. And I don't know how many people even want to see them in there at this point, because they have been a very, very rough team to watch, especially as of late, ever since Joel Embiid and Paul George and this big three that isn't a big three has come back into the starting lineup. So the 76ers, they fall to the Boston Celtics 124-104. Now, there's a lot going on in the conversation of Joel Embiid and Paul George and shutting it down. We hear everybody. So we're going to break it down on the other side when we come back on Locked On 76ers. And we have to tell you about DoorDash. I know a lot of people love to, when they get home, just relax, being able to order some food. And I know I love it, especially if it's a late night after work. Always my go-tos that I go out there and I go on DoorDash and I go get it. And NBA fans, get ready. The swoosh you save thanks to Dash Pass. Every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal and the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 2024-2025 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. Here are a few ways you can take advantage of this deal. Game day feast. After an epic 50-point performance, celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spot delivered straight to your door. That just sounds so good, and it's making me hungry right now thinking about that and telling you guys about it too. Late night cravings, whether you're staying up watching highlights or just need a midnight snack, make sure you use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while saving big. Lunch on the go. Need a quick and easy lunch the next day? With Dash Pass, you can get your favorite meals with $0 delivery fees and reduced service fees. Plus, now you save even more with this exclusive NBA offer. Fueling your watch party. Planning to catch the next game? Order your go-to snacks and meals at a discount and get ready for more high-scoring action. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save when any player scores 50 or more in a game. Dash Pass members get 50% off on the order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight. There's a lot of time. You get the opportunity to do that there after a 50-point game. Eligible orders at participating merchants must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms to apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Make sure you go check this out today. This offer is currently live, so you will not want to miss out on this great deal. So 76ers fall 124-104. And Keith, I want to go back to something that we talked about even before the season started. Oh, there's no preseason drama. There's not that much going on. This doesn't seem like a drama-filled season. Well, now you get all the injuries. Now you get the conversations of, oh, you need surgery. Everything's okay. You're going to go out there and play. And now saying that you can't play your full potential because there's clearly something going on and you got to see what you need to do going forward. I mean, Joel Embiid doesn't look 100%. He's not 100%. And at this point, with him not being 100%, this team has no chance to go anywhere at all. They could be a tough first-round matchup if he can get healthy. But right now, it looks like he is not on his way to getting to that point. And we'll touch on Paul George after that, too.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, like, I mean, I wrote this back in December when, the crazy thing is when Joel Embiid went after the female referee, and he looked like he was enraged and everything like that. You knew that he wasn't his normal self. You knew that the frustration because he can't move, he can't do whatever as he used to was getting to him. And I said at that particular point, Sixers need to strongly consider shutting him down, right? So now he keeps playing. His knee is getting swollen. We all see that he's not the same guy. And guess what happens? Daryl Morey comes out and says he doesn't need surgery. Well, Joel comes out and he tells Lisa Salters that he probably needs a procedure at the end of the season. Well, he didn't exactly walk that back later on when asked about it. Well, and you and I talked about this a couple days ago, that be on the lookout for when they start to struggle, and that Joel Embiid comes out and says, I'll probably need to get it fixed, and then I will be better. One game.
Yep.
It came out after the game. And I'm not saying that he's using this as an excuse. He needs to get it fixed. Everybody knows that. But it comes to a point in time when you say stuff like this, is when you realize that maybe this ain't the season. Maybe we need to move on and do other things, right? And I honestly feel like this is what's going on. Like they're having a truth come to me. Now he says, I'm not the same guy. I still think I can impact the game. You're not impacting the game like you used to impact the game. And not only that, Paul George isn't impacting the game like he used to. So, yeah, it came and it wasn't surprising, what Joel Embiid said. It wasn't at all. And he basically said, after that, after I get it fixed, then I can basically go back to being the guy that I am. But you know what? I'm going to do whatever I can for the team. I'm paraphrasing, but at the same time, you knew it was coming. You knew it was coming, Kayla. You had to.
And I don't understand what is holding him back at this point, and not just saying, let me just end this season, because I get it. He probably doesn't, he's going to hear flack from people, and people are going to say this, that, and the other. And that's just the reality of the situation. Oh, he's always injured, couldn't finish out the year, whatever it might be. But you're not going to do anything anyway. At this point, you're on the outside looking in of the play-in tournament. You are 15 games under 500 in the worst season in a while, it seems like, in this Joel Embiid era. And I know, in years past, it hasn't been that long, but they've had a lot of success over the past 3 to 4 years. And now you look at it and you say, okay, well, they're on a downward spiral right now this season, and it is not going to get better. So why is he waiting? I don't truly understand it. I get they have maybe a little easier schedule in the Nets in the next game, but no easy schedule has helped them out throughout the season so far. And I know their record is better with Joel Embiid. I believe it's at 500 right now, but I think sometimes they play better without him. And I say that because that run when Tyrese Maxey was going off and Joel Embiid wasn't able to play in a lot of those games, Tyrese Maxey was the leader. He was stepping up. He was having 6 to 7 games with 30-plus points or more. And I'm not saying that this team is better without Joel, because overall they're not. But if you're in a situation where you might not even make the play-in anyway, or you're going to be in that 10th seed, just play. You can play with Tyrese Maxey. It is okay. Go get the surgery. Do what you need to do, because this team is just getting worse by the minute. And he is getting worse by the minute as well. And you can tell, you can see it in his body language. And he might go back to an excuse saying, oh, well, I did say before, that I'm not my best, that I need to get it fixed. Well, then get it fixed. There's no more excuses. Just go and do it. That's where I'm at with the situation at this point. And on the other end, Paul George, too, I mean, he's not at 100%. I don't know if it's what's going on with his finger. I don't know if it's the age. He did perform well early in the game last night against the Boston Celtics, but those are two guys that at this point of the year, you're looking at and you're saying they're not going to make that much more of an impact anyway, where they're at right now.
Yeah. And I'm just going to read to you what Joel Embiid said after the
Yeah.
game, right? So he was asked how his knee was holding up, right? And he said he's okay. He says, still managing it. Got to keep going. Hope for the best, right? But then Embiid was asked if there's if there's specifics that he can't do or trust his need to do that he relied on in the past. And this is what he said. I'm sure you can figure it out. When I was playing a year ago, it's not the way I'm playing right now. It sucks, but I believe I probably need to fix the problem and then I'll be back at that level. But it's hard to have trust when you are not yourself. And I mean, I'm not as dominant as I was a couple months ago, right? Right. So he said, but that doesn't mean I can't still have a lot of impact on the game, right? So then George, this is where the George thing goes. It's like, we all know George had the 2 points, and then the next day Shams comes out with the report. So, you know, I basically said, is the report true? And how are you feeling? And he says, I'm hanging in there. I'm giving this team everything I have. The report is true. I am taking some sort of medicines to kind of, I guess, play through pain, right? So I'm like, dang, you taking some to play through pain, like, this is the regular season. And but yeah, I'm going to try to give everything I got. So it's kind of like this isn't what you want to hear.
Mm-mm.
We talking about 27 games left in the season, and these dudes are acting like it's game 6 of the
Literally.
NBA Finals. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No, you're right. You're right.
we're talking about like, yo, we're still in February. So
Yeah.
then you got March, you have April, May, June. Like
Mm-hmm.
if they get that far, right? So it's kind of like even if they go to the second round, are these guys going to be able to play? You know what I mean? So to me, it just seems like again, people reading these quotes are going to say, both of you guys shut it down because this season has been a disaster. Just shut it down.
And if they even make it that far or do anything in the playoffs, they might be coming in on crutches. They might have everything wrapped up. You're going to need to play these guys in some bubble wrap at this point because it does not look promising if they even get that far. And Keith, I'm going to ask you something on the other side too. Why are they sticking with it? Why are they doing it? Why don't they just, because it seems like these players, and it's a players league, that they have power to be like, hey, listen, we're not doing good this season. We're the 6th worst team in the NBA. Why do they keep pushing? We'll talk about that on the other side, though, before we get back on Locked On 76ers. And with the break in the action, we have to tell you about FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on fourth quarter comebacks, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. I love using FanDuel's betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I'm missing my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel. That's the official sports betting partner of the NBA, so don't miss out on it today. So my big question here is, why are Joel Embiid, especially Joel Embiid, but also Paul George, saying, I got to do what I got to do for my team? And I know why they're saying that, because they want to be positive. They want to do this, that, and the other. But for them personally, if this decision is up to them, which especially with Joel Embiid, it seems like it is, once again, a players' league, they have a lot in the say. Why are they still continuing to go knowing that the condition that they are in? Are they worried about the backlash? Are they worried about the fans? Are they worried that people are going to say, oh, well, you quit and you could have been one game outside the play-in? Where do you think that kind of coincides here, Keith? Because if I was Joel Embiid right now, I'd be saying, what about next year? This year we ain't going anywhere. Let me just shut it down, get healthy, get the surgery, because I'm 50%, 40% right now, and I'm not helping my team. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when you look at it right now, there's still a game and a half out of the play-in, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at it, the team, the Sixers lost 6 in a row. The team that is ahead of them, that they're a game and a half behind, the Chicago Bulls lost 5 in a row. They will play that Bulls team in possibly 2 days, where the Sixers will clinch the tie, have a great chance of clinching the tiebreaker. So it's one of those things where they're so close to it, to whereas it's like you don't want to be that guy to come out and say it, right?
Yeah.
But when you start making these hints and people start coming out and they're saying, like Joel saying what he's saying, and then Paul George, the report comes out, it's kind of like you're letting everybody know how banged up you are. Right. So then it doesn't look bad when you just shut it down. But they don't want to be the guy in a way to shut it down. Like they want to make it seem like they're this team guy. They want to help out. And let's face it, up to a couple days ago or a couple weeks ago, you were under the assumption that they were going to come back and everything was going to work out. They were going to be healthy. Now, I have to believe that, let's just say if they lost 6 in a row, but if they won 6 in a row, and they would probably be the 8th seed right about now, right? Yeah. Let's just say that. I don't know if we were hearing Joel Embiid talking about I need surgery.
No.
I don't know if we will hear Paul George, reports coming about how he's getting shot up. I mean, because everything would be lovely, everybody would be celebrating, and they would be the team that nobody would want to face in the playoffs, right? So I feel like the fact that they're losing is leading to this stuff to come out, but they're playing right now because they're so close. But if they lose some more, if they lose, give them the next 5 games. And if this stuff doesn't get any better by then, we could see people getting shut down, especially if they can't move, if Embiid can't move the way that, he would like.
I don't even know if I'm giving them 5 games. I might say after the Nets and the Bulls, I might say, all right, well, what are these guys doing? Because then you go into a tougher schedule of the Knicks. Yes, you have the Warriors, the Trailblazers, but also the Timberwolves to follow, the Celtics, the Jazz. So those next 2 games, we've said that so many times that they're must-win games on the season. These 2 are absolutely must-wins if you want to consider to the shutdown or the non-shutdown, because you should be able to win against the Nets and you should be able to win against the Bulls. So far this year, there's a lot of games they played in and the should wins have not been wins as well. So I give them 2 games. And then I'm saying, well, what are these guys doing and why aren't they doing it? But you're right, because this is the thing. If the Bulls maybe win that game against the Sixers but continue to lose after that, they're still somehow right in the mix of being in the play-in tournament, which is crazy to think about. And when you look at the Western Conference, I mean, the Suns are not at 500. They're at the 11th seed where the Sixers are. They have 26 wins. But you look at the 10th seed and up, everybody is at least a game over 500, including the Warriors and the Kings as well. They're in 10th and 9th place. So the difference between the East and the West, the 76ers, they are really counting their blessings here this year that they're in the Eastern Conference, because right now, if they're in the Western Conference, they're sitting in that 14th, 15th place range right now.
Man, but I bet you what, if they were, here's the thing, not to cut you off.
No, good. Got it.
If they were in the Western Conference, then they wouldn't have to worry about saying,
True.
hey, maybe I should play. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
they would just be like, all right, we're clearly not going to go anywhere, and it probably is time to shut it down. The issue is they're in the Eastern Conference where they have a chance to actually get into the play, and somehow, in some way, if they get healthy, they're going to be a tough first-round matchup. But the 76ers starting to regress. They looked not great last night. Terrible last night, we could say, against the Boston Celtics. 124-104. They will be back in action, and this will be when it's very telling. That's against the Nets tomorrow at 7:30 at the Wells Fargo Center. So we will wait and see if the 76ers can beat a team they're supposed to beat in the Nets and the Bulls going forward. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On 76ers. I know, people, it's been a tough season. Stick with us, though. We'll be breaking it down for you tomorrow as well. So thanks so much for joining us right here on Locked On 76ers.